Is there a predictable path to follow to heal from an affair? Are there key areas that must be addressed if a couple is going to heal from an affair? Yes, there is. There is a predictable path. There are certain key stages that have to be addressed if we're going to heal from an affair. And if we don't, we will remain stuck. So, what are these 7 key stages that we have to address if we're going to heal from an affair? The first stage is that we have to address our negative cycles and turn those into positive cycles. Now, turning negative cycles into positive cycles is something that happens throughout the healing journey. Oftentimes, before trust is broken, the person who had the affair feels like, you know what, we were in a negative cycle. That's a contributing factor to why I had the affair. Our communication wasn't great. We didn't really talk about things, or maybe we fought all the time. Maybe there were hurt and injuries that were there. There were pre existing conditions that were there that were contributing factors to my acting out. And so we have to address those negative cycles and turn those into positive cycles. The second thing that happens that we have to have, and this is really kind of the catalyst of a lot of other things, is that the affair gets discovered. The discovery of the affair is a traumatic incident for the spouse who gets betrayed or the person who's betrayed. It brings along with it ambiguity, which is one of the other stages, which is the third stage. It brings along with it trauma, and it brings along with it meaning, and it also creates the need for forgiveness. And so let's unpack these. The discovery of the affair brings along with it trauma. It brings along with it some of the worst pain a person can feel in their lifetime. 90% of people who've been betrayed would say that having their spouse or their partner be unfaithful and cheat on them is the worst experience of their life. They would say, I remember one time I had a lady who had breast cancer, and she said, you know what, instead of finding out about my husband's unfaithfulness, I wish I had found out I had breast cancer again, because I know I can beat breast cancer. I've done it already, but I don't know if I can heal from his affair. It's destroyed me that much. I've had people who have had combat experience, who served overseas and were shot at, and had this happen more than once, and they said, you know what, being over there dealing with that was far easier than dealing with my wife's affair. And so this is a major, major, major injury that people go through, and it creates trauma. That trauma has to get addressed, and if it doesn't get addressed, we're going to stay stuck. The discovery of the affair also brings with it ambiguity, meaning, should I stay or should I go? Should I be here? Should I not be here? And everybody who's been betrayed has a choice to make. Do I want to be here, or do I want to put in the work and stay? And sometimes people find it worthwhile to stay, but it also is a huge sacrifice for them to stay. They feel like it's better for their kids. They feel like it's better maybe ultimately for them long term. But initially their reaction is they want to leave. And most of us, prior to having our trust broken, believe or say things like this to our spouse, like, if you ever cheat on me, we're done. Just want you to know it's a deal breaker. We believe that. And oftentimes the more public an affair is, the more pressure there is put on the person who had their trust broken to leave. And my experience has been, and there's actually some studies that talk about this, it's about 72% of men and women equally, men and women both, will choose to work it out after an affair has been discovered. The more public it is, the more pressure there is to leave. So sometimes people feel like, I gotta go, I gotta leave. And usually if people make that decision too quickly to leave, they end up regretting it. And so one of the things that we've created at Healing Broken Trust is we try to help people who want to choose to make it work. We give them options on how they can make it work. We have coaching, we have workshops, we have online courses. We try to help people who want to make it work out. So just to recap, the first stage is turning negative cycles into positive cycles. And that's kind of the overarching theme of healing. And that happens throughout the journey. There's the discovery of the affair, and that kicks off ambiguity. Do I want to stay or go? I'm kind of confused. I'm uncertain. I'm not so sure what I should be doing. The discovery of the affair also triggers or brings out trauma. It's a big wound that is created. And then the fifth stage that has to get addressed is meaning. And what I mean by that is there's three basic questions that people are trying to get answered. What do I mean to you? Am I valuable to you? Do you love me? And then the second question that people have is, can I trust you? Those tend to be kind of opposite sides of the same coin. They're basic questions that we all have. What do I mean to you, and can I trust you? And then the third question that people have, and it's probably the most common, or at least the most asked question, and that is, why did it happen? Why did you cheat? Why were you unfaithful? Why? I don't think I've worked with a person who never asked why, or who wasn't curious on as to why. Why is a major question that everybody who's been betrayed has. It's a rational question. And people often want to get it answered because they don't want it to happen again. So if I know why it happened, then I can prevent it from happening again. Now, the sixth stage of healing that has to be addressed is forgiveness. And there's two types of forgiveness. There's what I call spiritual forgiveness, which is usually, it's the kind of forgiveness that you read about in religious texts like the New Testament. Maybe in the Old Testament or Hebrew scriptures talks about forgiveness some. And with forgiveness, there is what's usually with the type of forgiveness called spiritual forgiveness, which usually there is we're letting go of our right to punish a person. We're letting go of our right to take somebody's eye who's taken our eye. We're letting go of our right for vengeance and punishment. Now, the second type of and so that kind of forgiveness is good if we're going to stay together, but there's a deeper kind of forgiveness that we have to have as well, and that is a kind of forgiveness where we can begin to lower our guard with the person who betrayed us. That is no easy feat to get to that point, and that's part of what we do with our workshops, what we do with our online courses, our coaching, is we try to help people walk through these 7 stages and really get to that second kind of forgiveness. Because if we don't, we're going to stay stuck. If we don't get that, we're not going to really totally heal. We're going to maybe ignore what happened so we can stay married, but we're going to still suffer. We're going to suffer with our communication. We're going to suffer in some key way. We're not going to really be able to be connected. And so that first and second type of forgiveness has to be addressed. That first, again, is what I call more spiritual forgiveness. That second type of forgiveness is where we let that person back in. If you read any sort of religious texts on forgiveness, or frankly, any book on forgiveness, there's nobody's telling us to let the person in who hurt us. And so to get that second type of forgiveness, that person who hurt us has to become a healer. They have to be trustworthy. They have to show us that they're safe for us if we're going to get that second type of forgiveness. And finally, that 7th stage of affair repair that we want to have is post-traumatic growth. Now, this is post-trauma growth. And so this is growth that we have after we experience trauma. This is growth that we have that allows us to experience greater good coming from this mess, where our family tree has changed, we have changed as an individual, we have gotten better. And I've met a lot of people like this, but it doesn't happen naturally. It doesn't happen on its own, especially with a huge situation like betrayal. We all learn from experiences, but if our goal is to learn together and stay together as a couple, we have to grow together. We have to address these 7 stages together. It doesn't happen naturally, but it does happen for people who are intentional about it and who put in the work. They can really have this post-traumatic growth. And so we have workshops, online courses at Healing Broken Trust. Be sure to visit us online at healingbrokentrust.com. I'm Brad Robinson. Thank you for spending some time with me today. I'll see you next time.